Don't call her Little Debbie. Oh, that joke's not going to work this early in the morning. That's Tropical Storm Debby pounding the coast of Florida there. It's moving very slowly. We've got Betsy McKay joining us now on the News Hub. Good morning. I'm Rolf Winkler. Betsy in Atlanta, tell us a little bit about Tropical Storm Debby. She's moving rather slowly and dumping a lot of rain on Florida, yes?
That's right. It's moving very, very slowly. The storm was originally projected to move towards Texas, but now has completely switched and is moving in a northeasterly direction, and it's really just hovering off the Florida Gulf Coast, where it's causing surges and flooding. So there could be up to 25 inches of rain in some parts of Florida.
One urban area that's getting pounded pretty hard, my old hometown, Tampa,
Yeah.
Florida, is getting hit pretty hard. I saw some. The reason I bring that up is that's where the Republican National Convention is going to be, of course. And I know they've done a whole bunch of work, I think, to beautify that Tony neighborhood around Bayshore Boulevard. Most people at home probably don't know where this is, but it's one of the Tony neighborhoods of Tampa. People wanted it to look good for the Republican Convention in August, and that's just totally underwater right now.
Right. Well, hopefully it'll dry out by then. They've got a couple months, but yes, it's causing a lot of flooding. This storm is just sitting. I mean, it's going to take 5 or 6 days just to get across the state and off this coast of the Carolinas. So there could be a lot more flooding. It may take a while to dry it out.
Great. Betsy, thank you so much. We're going to jump right over to Eric Holthouse, our contributing meteorologist out in Colorado Springs. Eric, before you get started, I want to share a little some interesting history here on really how they name these storms, right? So this is our fourth named storm, Debby, right? Debby, it starts with a D. That means it's the fourth named storm of the season.
Yep.
And for people at home, this is kind of interesting. The way this works, so ever since World War II, really, this is when we started naming storms. Folks out in the Pacific had to track multiple storms at the same time. They didn't want to confuse anything, so they would actually give them names for storms that were over 39 miles per hour.
Yep.
The names start at A, they go through the alphabet, a few letters don't get used, and they alternate men's and women's names. And of course, names for very destructive storms, Andrew in 92, Hugo in 89, Katrina in 05, those names are retired and never to be used again. So Andrew, tell us, so the fourth named storm before July. Last year, we didn't get the fourth named storm Don until late July. What does that tell us?
Well, this year is really, like you just said, it's unprecedented. We've never had a season that started this fast before. Even the 2005 season, which is the sitting record holder for the most storms of the year, that year had 27. So we could be in for a long year.
I remember I lived through 3 of those myself in 2005 when I was down there. I boarded up a house at least once. So is there any connection really between the number of storms and the power of storms?
Not really. I mean, as we can see this year, all the 4 storms that have happened so far have all been tropical storms. Although with Debby, as you said, could end up doing a lot of damage in Florida. Tropical Storm Allison, about a decade ago, is the most destructive tropical storm in history, and it never reached hurricane strength at all, but it dropped about 3 feet of rain in Houston, and we could see something like that this week.
Okay. Now, of course, you're actually in Colorado Springs, where we've got out in Colorado some crazy wildfires right now. How's that season looking right now?
Well, yeah, again, unprecedented. I mean, yesterday was the hottest day in the city of Denver's history, 105 degrees. And we've had 4 days in a row now of over 100-degree temperatures, relative humidity below 10%. We have, for those out west, the pine bark beetle infestation has just decimated the forest out here. So they're just waiting to burn the whole state.
Yeah, of course, heat's not because of the fires, right? But he's going to dry out forests and make them more likely to light up, huh?
Exactly. So we have the perfect mix of a lot of fuel sitting around and dry weather, and there's an ongoing drought in the state as well.
Okay, let's
Go ahead.
circle back quick to, of course, to the storm season. The Atlantic storm season goes from when? It goes from June 1st to
Yeah, November.
June 1st to November 30th. Okay.
Yeah.
But like you said, the fact that we have 4 named storms before July is an indication that we may have a particularly busy season, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll get another Katrina, another Andrew, another Hugo.
Yeah, you never know. Just because we've had, almost a half of season's worth of storms already in the first 3 weeks doesn't mean that it could just stop here. We could end, and that's
Great.
That's kind of what was predicted at the beginning of the year, was that we'd have a normal to below normal season this year because of increasing chances of an El Nino forming later in the year, which tends to decrease the number of storms.